in a sport like this. It's very small.
Let's go!
The beauty of this, there will only be one winner.
Let's push this thing to the limit.
I welcome you. Let's go.
Hello all and welcome to Monaco for round 4 of the UIM E1 World Championship. This glorious principality has motorsport history etched into its streets, and now we prepare for the next chapter to be written on the glittering seas of the harbor by the all-electric powerboats of E1. Buongiorno Monaco. Now, along with the battles against their competitors, teams have to overcome a very challenging track. With more on that, it is Saunders Carmichael Brown. Welcome to the team.
Thanks very much, Greg. Absolutely pleasure to be here. And let's have a look at what we're contending with this weekend. So just under 1.5 kilometre long race lap, 7 turns on a normal racing lap, 300 metres or just less longer on the long lap, which we'll see in the semi-finals and the final. Now the lap starts with 500 metres from the start gate, so the first set of corners. Now this is a huge chance to start well and build up a gap in cleaner water. Got a tight set of corners at the top of the course, then coming back round to clearly the fastest part of the circuit, round to the last corners onto that start of the next lap, which is going to be incredibly exciting, Greg.
I think so. It's going to be absolutely marvelous. We're getting ready for qualifying. And what happens here, we have 2 qualifying sessions split into 2 groups. We have 9 of these beautiful race birds. 5 will go off in the first group of Quali 1, and then the next group will go of 4. Then we'll repeat the process. At the end of it, the fastest times from each of the 2 pilots, they will be combined, and the lowest combined time is what gets you possibly a point. And that's really crucial. They're qualifying meaningful in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, that point will go a long way, especially towards the end of the season when you start thinking about who gets to leave with the trophy. But I'm actually really excited about what's going to happen with this qualifying session, because I think we're going to see some dark horses that potentially haven't been there when it comes to points in the previous races of the season really start to improve that performance, start putting in better lap times, and become a bit more of a name in the championship.
Well, and there's a lot of heat in terms of the weather as well, not just the pressure of the championship. It's mid-80s Fahrenheit, and with the humidity, it's really, really thick out there right now. Temperatures real feel up into the mid-90s almost. The boat's now in the milling area, and they will be getting ready for the start. What the structure of this is you can go out, you can get 3 laps total. That's the time to now. But you can't go out, run one, come back in. Once you start, you've got to put them together. And I got to ask you here, we were watching what was unfolding in qualifying. When you look at the times, there was one team that really seems to have hit on something.
Yeah, Team Rafa definitely the ones to be keeping an eye on. And it kind of makes sense, because if you look at their performance in previous races, they've been quick. They just haven't been quick when it counted,
yes,
when the points were on the cards. But it doesn't despite, the performance has been there. And now we get the chance to see whether they can turn that into a good qualifying performance, leave crucially with that 1 point, and get themselves in that prime position for the semi-finals and the final.
We just had a good look there at the Team Miami boat leading in the points after a problem at our previous round in Puerto Banús for Team Brady, which had come out of the blocks and just were winning everything. But Team Miami had been very fast, were able to put it together there. And you can see Eric Stark, who is a powerboat champion, one of the very best, I think, in that field. It talked about he loves gardening. He actually loves it so much, he actually grooms part of his yard into a putting green so we can play golf on it. So obviously, when you're exciting in an exciting sport like that, every once in a while you need those escapes here. But this is the other thing that we're seeing here that to me, Saunders, is really going to be fascinating. It's the first time we have 5 of these race birds side by side heading out to run. That's going to be a lot of wake traffic out there they're going to have to deal with. We're 10 seconds from the start of qualifying.
Yeah, that's a hugely exciting new development. Like, to see what that's going to do just to their ability to put in good laps. You know, how much wake is that going to, the line choosing that they're going to do on these very crucial maximum 3 laps. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how this one pans out.
it's all about timing here. Is you want to be out of obviously the wake of the race bird up in front of you, so you need to give yourself a gap, but then you don't want to be so slow, kind of like qualifying in almost any sport. You don't want to be waiting so long for that gap that another race bird comes flying by you, and now you're in it again here as we're on board here. This is Team Westbrook, newest of the teams. They missed the opening round in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, but came to the next round in Venice and proved to be very quick right from the off, and are doing a great job. Got some great graphics to follow here, but as you can see, even though this is nowhere near as rough as what we had in Puerto Banús, there are still moments when these race birds come crashing down. And the interesting thing here is, when do you go to boost? You've got 20 seconds of boost you can use, but you can only use 20 seconds per minute. So there's all these different things to be considering here, as well as the trim and the lift, and that's something I know that fascinates you here. And coming from a good knowledge of power boating, in many ways, what they have to do with these foils seems a little bit upside down.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's such a fascinating series because it really is like nothing else we've ever seen in a sport, because you've got all these different disciplines, all these different pilots and drivers coming from all different categories, trying to compete in something which is completely new. Because yes, you could argue that powerboating is powerboating, it's watercraft, but when you introduce the foils, it completely changes the game. And we've heard it from some of the pilots, even with multiple powerboat world championships, saying that the actual thinking process is opposite. When it comes to using the trim to slow the boat down into corners, it's the opposite way of thinking, and that's, getting over that is probably be quite challenging.
I would think so. And then, the other side of it to me is that the foils extend out so far that when you get that little swell that moves through, it grabs one first. And so it's literally, suddenly you have these massive yaw moments that are just a whole different ballgame in a lot of ways that they've got to work their way through.
Yeah, they like these race birds, they like to be perpendicular to the waves. It's the way that the best performance will come from them. But again, it's different to what the powerboaters, especially what the jet ski experience in the paddock will be used to. So yeah, it's actually going to be so many challenges. It's not just, you think about the challenges that come from racing on a static circuit or racing in rally, which obviously is the experience of a lot of these pilots. With water, you've got the multiple natural forces coming at you from different directions and changing almost by the second.
Here's a look on board at Eric Stark. We have some great onboard looks for you. This one from the cockpit out. We also have what I call the R2-D2 cameras up on the top, the droid cameras that just give you these amazing views. But we also have some great onboard looks back at the drivers, and you can see the concentration there. And there you can see, obviously, a very, very interested lady who is watching what is going on, Anna Glennon, really concerned about what her teammate Eric Stark is doing out there right now. And at this point, fastest lap is Sarah Price for Westbrook at a 1:37.6. And in the first of the practice sessions, we saw one boat, we talked about it, Team Rafa getting down into the high 130s. Obviously, things have roughed up just a little bit, but nobody could get within almost 4 seconds of them anyway at that point. That's what's going to be fascinating to see.
Yeah, and I think there's potentially a bit of momentum, a bit of feeling that comes with just being out on the water for an extended amount of time, just getting to use with the way that the race bird's feeling underneath the waves, the way that the current's affecting, how much you can use the trim, how much you can change your settings, just get the foil in the perfect place to maximise speed and try not to slow down too much when you take each turn by turn.
Well, one of the things with these race birds being all electric, you don't have the engine noise that's overdriving all the other sounds. So folks, as you're enjoying this, every time you hear that little slap of the hull hitting the water, that's drag. That's literally slowing you down. You're so much faster up on the foil, and that's the art, isn't it, Saunders, is to get that balance so you can run as fast as you can and still stay up on that foil.
There's a huge satisfaction in achieving that silence almost as well, especially I can't even imagine what it must be like in an electric series, just having that ability to hear everything naturally so much more cleaner without the engine noise kind of disrupting that. So yeah, lots of different things about this series which are incredibly exciting to watch. And the qualifying is very special. I think to be able to try and get a perfect lap in with only 3 chances with constantly changing conditions, the jeopardy is literally very high. It's through the roof.
There's a huge risk-reward thing that you always have to be considering here, because sometimes with the foils, we found even in Venice where we had relatively calm water, when you were up on the foil and everything was fine, when you go to boost, you'd get right to that high end, and it was almost at that point too unstable at that speed for the foil. So sometimes it's not necessarily the outright fastest speed, it's always the fastest lap, and that there could be a serious difference there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same in a lot of motorsport. I think one thing to really hammer home about these foils is it's not up or down. There's a whole degree of difference between when the boat is resting on the water and then when it's at the top of the foil, and just being in that perfect spot where you're using the balance perfectly to just kind of cleanly go across the water at a good pace, but then not doing it to the point where you risk the foil coming out of the water on one side and then it pulling you down and slowing you down completely.
And you just saw a moment right there for Eric Stark. He was up, he was really had it well placed, went to boost. You can see he got a little bit of boost going, and it just fell back into the water. And that's the balancing that we're talking about. Some of the pilots have said, really, they've even tried, they just don't really use the boost much in a straight line on the straights anymore, because sometimes the foil just can't sustain that speed. They use it digging out of the corners, get the the racebird turned, then hit it, and that seems to be very effective for them. And right now, it continues to be a really good time for Sarah that is holding up at this point. Nobody at this stage within 2 seconds. And as I say that, Eric Stark makes a liar out of me and puts in a lap that's only a half second off of Sarah. And that is done for him too. So he and Sarah have both completed all their laps. Interestingly, the other 3 racebirds are just hanging in the milling area, and they want, obviously, smooth water.
You've got to give it to Sarah and Team Westbrook, because neither of them have a great deal, or really any, of professional watercraft racing. But yet they've come in a couple of races ago and just really hit the ground running. It's very impressive.
It was, and I mean, Lucas Ordonez, when you think about what he did at Venice when he came in and actually won one of the semifinals, and it was just, where did this come from? But some, it's that, some racers just have the gift, right? And it doesn't matter what they're driving, what they're riding, they just have that feel, and it seems to be paying out here. And that's a good look here. That's a good story too, how that's coming in. We have a couple of the reserves that have been called into action here, and right there, Yeva, one of them, and we'll talk a little bit more about her, but a couple of racers here that haven't even competed yet, that are going to have to step up for their teams.
Yeah, the good news is that where people like Yeva will be stepping in for Vicky at Checo, the difference is that Yeva has a great deal of powerboat experience. I mean, is there anything that she hasn't won? It is ridiculous, the level of accolades that she has in different championships. We're talking, European Powerboat Championship, we're talking Latvian, German, Baltic Champion, endurance powerboating. There's a great deal of experience there that I think Team Checo are going to massively benefit from. And even, if it comes to the point where this might be the only time we see her racing, the level of information and data that could be passed on to the team for Vicky when she comes back, huge.
I think absolutely right. And, that's something that we haven't talked a lot about is there's lots of data to be gathered here. And in the modern racing world, it doesn't matter what the craft is, looking at data is a huge component of it here. And Team Checo, you think about it, they come in tied for 7th in the points. So they've struggled just a little bit here. And I think you're right, they're going to use her knowledge to great effect. And it'll be fun to see what they can do with it here.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the other side of that coin is with the other stand-in, or the reserve driver we have in place today, which is her husband.
Yeah.
Which is incredible, because that's now there's an added motivation there, because the first person you want to be might be your teammate, but also it's your other half.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You want to make those holiday dinners as awkward as possible. So they're going to go after it here. Right now on board, though, that Team Checo or Sergio Perez race team, Formula One driver, multiple Formula One event winner. Sergio Perez, nickname is Checo, so they call it Team Checo. Danny Close, who has done a lot of F1 testing and is also a really talented Formula car driver. I had the opportunity to announce for one of the hospitality suites at the Miami Grand Prix, and Danny ended up being the guy that was my analyst. And
nice.
So we got in a lot of chat in between sessions about E1, and he is absolutely loving this experience. He said it's a new challenge and it's fascinating.
I mean, a GP2 race winner as well, but someone like Danny has experience of all the reserve and test driving for a series like Formula One. You're constantly crunching through data, and you're constantly having to try new things and adapt. And it's exactly the sort of skill set that you need for a new championship like E1. So there's a lot of shared experience that will become very useful, I think, for him in just dealing with new experiences and data.
Well, one of the things that we've talked about is also the powerboat racers. They're not used to all the stuff on the steering wheel, right? And for Danny, that's, you're in a sim. When you're doing that, you're dealing with that all the time. So there are some things where the non-powerboat racers don't have to maybe unlearn things like they may have to, and it all, you hope it all comes out at the end just incredibly close across all 9 race routes.
The series has been designed pretty well in that respect, because even though you might have a benefit from being a World Championship powerboat racer or a jet ski champion, there's another side of the coin that makes it a bit harder. Maybe the way that you use the trim or the way you try and slow down the boat is the opposite. So it's a whole rejigging of your mental process. Or with, for example, jet skis, everything's done with so much core body movement where they use their body to turn, and now you're using a steering wheel while sitting statically. It's almost like you get one benefit, but then we take it away with something else, and it helps the people that come from the static championships, or rally or track driving. We're very used to using a steering wheel, having dashboard data, and constantly being able to multitask like that. They get their benefit from that side.
Well, it's interesting to be watching Ava there as she's keeping an eye on what Danny's doing out there. So far, he's only been able to get a 144 in, and I'm not sure if there's something going on out there, because I want to check here if we have a yellow out there, because suddenly everybody is just sort of slowed down a bit. And I know Danny had completed his 3rd lap, but I think we did have a yellow flag out there at some point. So we'll see if that happened during his 3rd lap. They may be giving him another one. We'll certainly keep an eye on that, although it looks like he might be making his way back to the launch zone. And let's see who else is out there right now. Yusuf Abdul Razak, what a lap he just put in. We were kind of waiting to see if somebody else was going to be able to step up, and Team Drogba has uncorked a beauty, a 135.339 for Yusuf Abdul Razak. He's told us that a lot of the people in his jet ski world refer to him sometime as the Razak attack. And he just uncorked a beauty here with a really, really stellar lap.
Yeah, a 2-second gap there. That is a big... You have to try and think about where that might be coming from, because the conditions haven't changed a great deal from what we can see on here. The wind speed hasn't changed a great deal from what we can see on here. So then is it going to be about prop selection? Is it going to be about something that they've talked about, certain lines? Because we are racing on water, but there is still a line that you're thinking about when you're going between the buoys. So who's got a better line? Maybe it's an approach, maybe it's an exit, but something, wherever it is working well, 2 seconds well.
Yeah, it's just remarkable what he's doing, and you can see he's up out of the water there, doing a really, really nice job keeping that up on the foil just a little bit. And it's interesting too to watch the different approaches into the corners. You can see it is sunny along with everything else in Monaco, and so that look out the cockpit cover there, it is glaring in certain areas here. But some of it comes down to the cornering. Obviously, in a car, another vehicle, it's always roll speed through the corner that you want to get. But here, we've seen some of them, they literally will dip the foil, pivot around it, and others try and make that longer arc and keep it going. And it seems like a few of the teams here may have just figured something out in that regard.
You can see it with the on-screen graphics that we had just a minute ago. Watching what they do to the trim as they approach the corner, how they lower it in order to get the back end of the boat down and the nose up to kind of get that stability to whip it through a corner. That's reverse of powerboating, because in powerboating you want to have the nose down to slow down. So you are completely changing the way that you think in that sense. But yeah, it's good to keep an eye on those graphics and see what they're doing as they approach and exit corners, and it gives you an understanding of how you work the raw power from the electric motor and the foils together.
And there's the other element too that we haven't really talked about much, which is we have one pretty tight right-hand corner here, and you've been doing some research, and you said like the prop design and everything, the boats tend to favor left-handers, and so these right-handers have become pretty tricky, haven't they?
Yeah, I think it changes the way that they approach them a bit. Ultimately the prop moves in one direction and it wants to favor a certain turn, and that is a left turn. So when you got quite quick right as well, because it's on the back of that first kind of longer straight section, there's a small kink to the left, and then it's almost like a sharp, almost 50-degree or so angle to the right. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that throws anyone out, especially when they're racing together.
Yes.
I think that could really be the difference of getting in each other's way and causing some problems.
Well, the only bird-to-bird contact we've had so far this season was in a right-hander. So maybe Maybe that
now
was
you said it.
There I did, yeah. Hey, Chris Ladaraga has just put in a flyer as well for Team Rafa. That's the team that we watched in practice that just had a handle on things, it seemed. A second and a half clear now at a 1 minute 33.7 second lap. Was watching to see whether Youssef was going to be able to find something big on that last lap. And he did get a personal best in the third sector, but it wasn't enough. And so now we're going to focus here on Chris and watch what she's able to do here, but they just had it covered in practice. And I'll tell you what, she is really rolling, as I talked about. She just carries a lot of speed all the way through the turn. And you see, she doesn't dip that foil much, does she? She keeps that boat as level as she can, that Racebird, as she works through the corner.
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately there's going to be a preferred setup or preferred system going into a corner, but then it has to come down to feel of the pilot as well. They might prefer a certain feel, be able to react. The way that the water reacting with the craft is a way that they can then feel like they have more balance going into a turn. So yeah, it's kind of a balance between the perfect setup on paper versus the feel.
Well, and I just saw something that I wonder isn't part of this here. As she came around the tight turns, as you would lead into the start-finish straight, I was watching, and everybody else, that last buoy, that last smart mark, they were kind of squaring it.
Okay.
And she was way wide and just opened it up. I wonder if that's just, you know, the difference where she just has more speed once she hits the straight already. Now that one she did square a little bit, but it was the other side of the track where she just kept it wide, a very wide arc through the corner here. Interesting to see what she does now.
That's a good observation, because it is about increasing that or keeping that minimum speed up higher than others, and that makes a difference. I'm just looking at the sector timings now, and Youssef in Team Drogba has smashed the first and second sector. It's gone purple on the previous lap, so there is definitely some time to be found there for the likes of Christina and Sarah and everybody else.
Now here's that turn. Watch here. Watch that last smart mark. She just tightened it was just a little tighter line, but she kept the arc. She didn't pivot around that last one. She gets out of that. She's just already got a big head of steam built up. Let's see, does she improve her time anymore? No, but talk about consistency. Your best lap was a 1 minute 33.7, and she went a 1:34 even. That's only 0.3 apart at this stage.
You're onto something there, for
Yeah.
sure. But look at that last sector, it's almost 2 seconds quicker.
All right, and yeah, she just put one together. Yeah, that last sector was really, really fast. If she'd been able to find that little bit more in the other two. Let's check in with Team Rafa. Saunders?
This is Saunders, Team Rafa. That was an incredible lap. Tell us, what's the secret? How are the conditions? We'll try again. This is Saunders in the comms booth. Team Rafa, can you hear me? Great lap.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me try it on my side here and see if we can get through. Chris, this is Greg in the comms booth. An incredible lap. You guys have really been on form today.
Yes, to be honest, it's been a very good day since the very beginning. I think we are both feeling good and in these conditions. So it's a very good start for this qualifying.
I'm sure you don't want to share your secrets, but it looks like you're just able to keep a lot of speed going in the corners.
I think we found a perfect balance between the straights and the corners. So we are working a lot in the team. And what happened now is just, you know, the reflection of what we're doing in the team.
Well, you're doing it incredibly well. Congratulations on that qualifying run. Be great to see how the rest of the sessions go. Well done.
Thank you so much. Vamos!
Very excited, Chris Ladaraga there. That's great. That's great. Great lap. Great way to start the day.
It was. Look at this again. You know, it's much calmer than we had in Puerto Banús, but things still move. But that was where she had started to slow for the turn. But what gets me here is, look how quick she's right back up.
That's
coming
right,
through that.
right at the top end of the trim with the foil almost out of the water there. That is absolute perfection when it comes to keeping that minimum speed up through corners.
Yeah, beautifully done. And the interesting thing is as your confidence builds, you're a lot more willing to get a little closer to those smart marks. You know?
Yeah.
And obviously, if you can make the shorter run and still carry speed, that's going to be what you want to do. But you know, I think obviously you get these little swells. We talked about how the boats, the racebirds just suddenly shift and move. You know, the people that are really feeling it, those are the pilots that are willing to get within just a couple feet of those things.
And that is the big difference between those with water experience, you know, just knowing what a good bump versus a bad bump feels like, let's say, and knowing when they can keep pushing and when they need to lift off. And it's not something you can learn, I don't think, necessarily quickly. I'm sure a lot of the people without water experience will be gaining quite quickly as the season goes on, but really that's a talent. That is something almost you progress and you develop over years and years and years, and it does pay dividends.
It does, clearly an absolutely great run. So by almost 1.6 seconds after this first run in qualifying, again, 2 different sessions, 2 groups per session, and you can see in 5th right now, a little bit off the mark right now, Danny Close for Team Checo. In the 4th spot, Eric Stark. Bit of a surprise there maybe with his experience to be back and forth. Sarah Price continuing to impress, sitting 3rd for Westbrook Racing. And then for Team Drogba, Youssef Abdul-Razak had it covered, it looked like, until that amazing lap by Chris Ladaraga for Team Rafa. So that's how it looks right now. And except for that big jump back to Team Checo, you know, on this track here, you know, 4 seconds of separation, that's pretty tight.
Absolutely, and we haven't talked about it as well, is the pilot selection.
Yeah.
To go with Chris first and now save Tom for the second qualifying. You know, that might be a really good strategy to put Tom up with loads of powerboat experience against those with less, and maybe even double down on that lap time.
That's a really, really good point there. And just on that topic, when we get into the semifinals tomorrow, when they decide what their pilot order is going to be, who goes out first, you cannot change that rotation then. You know, so you can't have your powerboat ace going up against, you know, and all that. Once you pick him, you're on that rotation through the rest of the day. So there's a lot of forethought and planning that goes into this just a little bit. And tell you, Youssef Abdul-Razak did an absolutely superb job in that qualifying run. And I think Alex Aljo has found him down on the launch pad. Alex?
Youssef, another new stage, new conditions. How was that for you?
It was amazing. Monaco is a very nice and unique place. We all love coming here. And today we did qualifying just now, 3 full laps. Did a good first lap, but the second 2 we had a couple of yachts coming in, so it wasn't as good. But happy with second in the qualifier. Wait for Robin to get us a good overall, and hopefully we get a top 3 going into the semis.
With the yachts coming in, what kind of impact did that have? How did it affect you? Tell us more.
Oh, definitely. Like, we're focusing on a strategy, and you have waves coming on the left side while going and coming on the other side as well. So this takes the balance of the boat, lose a lot of speed. So it is what it is. It's on everyone, but as long as we're doing good time, we are happy.
What's the mood like within Team Drogba? How are you feeling?
Oh, the team is amazing. Everyone is dialed in, on point, and we are doing our best. And we're gonna aim for the podium in Monaco.
Brilliant. Next, over to Oban. Over to her.
Yes, Oban is she's gonna kill it.
Thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of the weekend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
A lot of talent on board that Racebird, and you did a great job. But it's fascinating, isn't it, that one of the yachts moving into the harbor, which is a little distance away, but those big yachts throw up such a wake. It's like swells that come right through the Racebird.
Just when you've got enough things to contend with, another one comes in with the wake of the passing super yachts. But yeah, that's boat racing. That's how it works. And there's a fair few people in the grid that will be used to that, and some that will have absolutely no experience of that. So it just adds to the excitement, Greg.
It really does. And, you know, talk about needing to read things a little bit, and, you know, but then you get a complete surprise coming at you. And you could see right there that it looked like he was right where he wanted it to be. And then suddenly you could see a swell come through, and it just dropped him. And look at that. He looked back to see, am I burying that foil? You know, and that, we have to point out, that's a tight, cramped cockpit, and part of it's for safety reasons, but they're really encased in there, so the visibility is a challenge for them, and today the heat is a challenge for them.
Absolutely, and that's the role of the spotter that each team will have, you know, to be at a high vantage point and always keep an eye out for that stuff and radio through to the pilot. Another thing to be thinking about, you know, that actually comes in when you think about strategy, when to use your boost, when to go on a long lap when it comes to the finals. That's the kind of thing that the spotter will be looking out for. Well, maybe now's not a good time because you've got this whole bit of swell coming your way from a super yacht.
That's a really good point. And of course, trying to read how quick that swell is going to roll over there. There's just so much that you're kind of being challenged with here. And you can see over in the launch zone area, getting ready to head back out. Here's a look at Team Blue rising, and they are indeed rising just a little bit. Really came off of a really good weekend at round number 3 in Puerto Banús. But before we get to that, let's get back down to Alex, who has found Chris Ladaraga, who just put in a great qualifying run. Alex?
Chris, congratulations. What a day so far for Team Rafa. What's making the difference?
To be honest, I think it's a teamwork. We have been together all week. We were doing some teamwork on Monday at Tom's house. I think we prepared this race as a family, and here's the result. We have been doing very good since the very beginning of the day, and I hope this continues all the weekend.
How happy were you with that qualifying time? Did you expect it to go that well?
Well, of course, when we go out in the water, we always expect a P1. So I'm very, very happy, and I just looking forward to what my teammate is going to do next session.
The performances have been there, but maybe not getting the results you wanted. Does it feel like it's time finally for Team Rafa to excel?
Yes, for sure. You know, we have a good path, but the past races we haven't been very lucky. So I hope that this is our weekend.
How are you finding the conditions? I know it's very hot. You're just telling me you're boiling, aren't you?
Yes, I mean, inside the cockpit, you can't imagine how hard it is to be there like for 20 minutes. But the conditions and the spot, they are amazing, so I am really enjoying so far.
And Monaco as a setting, pretty perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a perfect city to host an event like this, so I hope everybody enjoys.
Chris, a pleasure speaking with you. Well done again. Congratulations and all the best for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow, E1 is underway, and what a qualifying run was put in. We have, of course, the second session here of this qualifying run coming up. So we will take a quick break. When we come back, 4 more of these gorgeous race birds take to the track here at E1 Monaco. Welcome back to E1 Monaco as we are ready for our second group of our first of 2 qualifying sessions here for this. And you can see there's 3 of the 4 race birds that will be setting sail, as it were, for this to come out in qualifying. Just off to the right, you can see the harbor wall for Port Roquelaire. That is the beautiful port here, the actual yacht basin, if you will, and the yachting club, which is where the ocean club is set up, and everything inside. And of course, it's just outside of these walls where the E1 Monaco course is, and it has proven to be spectacular already. And we have yet 4 more of these race birds to go out, set a time. Then there will be a bit of a pause as they will switch pilots. They will come back out with different pilots, do it all again. They will add the times together, divide by 2 to get the average, and the best or lowest combined time will set the stage 1 for the lane orders for the semifinals tomorrow, but also will give the fast qualifier a key point in the championship. Looking there, that is race direction. That's where it all happens here, and of course not too far away from them is the Ocean Club, where the VIPs, team owners, are residing and watching over the action here for E1 Monaco. And the target time at this stage would be that 1:33 that was set by Chris Ladaraga. We'll see if anybody can dip underneath that as we get ready to head out here. Here's a look at the Team Brazil bird. Katie Munnings will be on board, and I'll tell you, she is one experienced pilot when it comes to things E. She knows how to get it done. This is a little bit new for her, but she's adapted very quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, there isn't anyone else on the planet that has driven all 3 of the key, pinnacle of electric racing machines, be it Extreme E, Formula E, and now E1.
Yeah, she's been remarkable. We get the word 10 seconds to go, so they have elected, obviously, Katie wants to get out there and get it done. We have 1 less race bird out there, which in a way could mean a little bit less chop, if you will, from any of the wakes. But she is setting off. She's timed this well. Look at how nice and calm it is at this stage. We don't have any major yachts in the background that are throwing much up here. Good opportunity here for her to really be able to put a lap in.
It's a great launch, and it'll be interesting to see how she takes on this first set of corners, this kind of first 3 left turns in a row, how much speed she can take through them, and then crucially coming back out onto that back straight of the final sector, seeing how much speed she takes into that, because that was, as we saw, where most of the time was made up in the first qualifying session.
Absolutely. There she goes, turning into that first set of corners. And as we were talking about the glare, so they have those great little visors that just keep some of that sun out. Here she goes. This is a much longer arcing set of smart marks here. That's what those are called. So you can arc a lot better through there, carry a lot more speed through that section of the track. And she really did a nice job. Kept that up on the foil throughout that entire turn. Looking pretty good here.
Yeah, we've got the first of maximum of 3 laps that they can do. So maybe this one might be almost as we refer to in other sports, like a build lap, getting to speed with the conditions, the feeling, and then really trying to push in that second and third lap. But yeah, looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, it is. And as we say it, of course, we have that little bit of a drop here, but you're always going to give it that bit of a push here. And I think on that first lap, you want to at some point use your boost just to find out, okay, where can I use that to greatest effect? And there are the spotters, eyes glued through the binoculars as she is now working through this other sector. And she, too, is giving it a nice wide run through there. That's what we had seen Chris do on that really, really fast lap she put in, which is let it open up a little bit. Don't tighten it up too much. Let's see what she puts up here. A 1:43.0, a little bit off, but again, as you said, that's just her first. That was more of an exploratory lap, I would think.
Yeah, and as you see on the opposite side of the course there, you've got Team Brady, Sam Coleman coming through. Now, on paper, in terms of the finals, Team Brady have been almost the ones that are unstoppable, having 2 of the 2 wins in the 3 finals we've had so far, but crucially have not had a fastest lap in qualifying yet. So if they can try and get both parts of the package together, get that in this session, they might have the full package that no one else has been able to achieve yet. And that's dangerous because look how well they're doing in the points. Just 3 points behind Team Miami, but a healthy 12 points behind Team Brazil behind that.
Yeah, and they came into Puerto Banús with a big lead in the points. Didn't even make the finals. So that's why they dropped like that. And I just watched Coleman there, much more aggressive, much more angular through that same set of smart marks. And so the time, though, worked for him as he comes comes through about 4.8 seconds quicker than Katie at a 1:38.2 for his first flying lap. And now we're going to be watching as you would expect with that kind of a time, all 3 sectors he put in were the fastest yet. And let's see what he's able to duplicate here. Not as quick in the first sector on this lap.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but just short of 5-second gap between Katie Munning's lap and Sam Coleman's lap on their first lap. And now looking at the sector 2 that Katie's just put in, it's an improvement on the same one of the lap before. So I think maybe we were on the right wave of thinking with, you know, that being a bit of a build lap and now seeing what she can do with full, going for it a bit more. But yeah, I mean, I think they've really picked the pilot selection perfectly here at Team Brady, because Sam Coleman's pretty much the one with the only powerboat experience in this 4 pilots.
Well, and in a way, I mean, that resonates to me on a couple different angles. One, just his ability, his experience, but 2, with his powerboating experience, to be able to get out of this race bird and talk to Emma and say, here's what I was sensing out there with his experience. I think that's really a great idea, you know, and we keep talking about it, whether it's data from sensors, whether it's data from your co-driver, you know, you want information that's based on the best experience possible.
That's the beauty of the pairings, you know, that you're learning from each other, because where the powerboat experience might be giving really useful information to those without any water experience, there is an exchange on the other side as well, you know, just using data, using like the dashboard, having that type of steering, the way that you can kind of battle with other drivers, with other pilots when it comes to the semi-final and the final. So yeah, there's an exchange of information there that works on both sides.
Oh, look at that backdrop. Can it get any prettier than this? Stunning. And Katie Munnings just put up a scorching first sector, folks. She was fully 6.5 seconds quicker than Sam Coleman in that sector. So we may be on to something here. She is flying. Yeah, Sam not able to match that previous best lap. He's still at that 38.2. And let's see what Katie's going to be able to do here as she starts this final lap. Better as well in the second sector. She has dialed it up just a little bit here. This could be a pretty mega lap. But as I say that, Coleman, as he starts his third lap, he gets within 0.2 of Katie Munnings. The battle is on.
Absolutely. They're saving their best of last here, waiting to get their eye in. And now it is a shootout, essentially a 1-lap shootout for who can get the fastest time of this session so far.
Boy, Katie is just carrying so much speed through the turns. And she comes through and waiting to see where she ends up here. She finished through and she lost some time right near the end of that. That was the third sector, where I think she dropped off just a little bit and ends up with a 1:42.7. She's going to be, I think, a little bit upset with that. Meanwhile, we'll see what Coleman does here. As here he comes, watch his line through now this tighter of the hairpins here. It just looked to me like he really arcs it, he cuts it hard.
Goes onto the inside and then swaps to the outside just to kind of be on the left-hand side of that start gate, and then now full power straight through the middle, trying to get the best time possible. And he has improved on it slightly, or 1:38.2 was at the time from
that before. Was it. So that lap was a 39.7, so he was off just amazing, because we saw 2 incredibly fast first sectors, and then everything just sort of fell off a little bit for both Sam Coleman and Katie Munnings. But man, they delivered a message in that first sector. You just saw Emma Kymäläinen watching very, very intently as to what's going on here. Again, trying to learn, because she's going to be out there in just a little bit.
And what's interesting, just looking at the timings, once again, you're looking at that first session with the Rafa getting, Team Rafa getting a 1:33.7, let's say an almost 34. Sam Coleman with a 1:38, almost a 38 dead. Again, it's 4 seconds difference.
Yeah, they have
4 seconds.
They have something figured out, don't they? Well, all right, so obviously Sam Coleman topping this group of session 1 at this stage. And we now have Phelim Kavanagh for Team Blue Rising heading out. But let's quickly check in with Sam Coleman about that lap. Sam, this is Greg in the comms booth. How did you feel about that lap? Looks like he might be chatting on the radio.
Sam, do you copy the TV feed?
Let's give it one more try. Sam, this is Greg in the comms booth. Up on top in this session, how did you feel about the lap? All right, obviously, Sam, I think, was answering us. We just couldn't hear him, but he had a grin on his face. I don't. Whoa! How about that move? Huge moment right there for Saud Ahmed. And Saud has had his moments when he has been extraordinarily quick out there for the Aoki Racing team. And one thing he doesn't seem to have is a whole lot of fear. He just gets after it and lets the boat have its head here. So we'll see what he's going to be able to do. An absolutely brilliant second sector that he just put in. And jumps up into third. Phelim Kavanagh, a solid run into second. The margin now only 0.6.
Yeah, 0.6 in his first lap as well. Not even a build lap, just straight out there trying to get as fast a lap as possible. And it almost, without a mistake, it's hard to believe that he won't improve on that. Of course, he's going to improve on that in the next 2 laps.
Well, we've seen that from Phelim. Is that, you know, even though he's a motorcycle racer, so he rides with bars, you know, so it's totally foreign for him. And he has come out, he has been fast, he's won heats, he's been really, really effective here, and he just seems to be willing to just get after it at this stage. So we'll certainly be keeping an eye on there. But Team Blue Rising, that is Phelim right there, as we said, second spot. And then he's got a good, healthy, almost 3 seconds to Saud Ahmed and then Katie Munnings. So we'll see here. It looks like it could be Coleman versus Phelim Kavanagh here. We know Coleman is done. Katie is done. So let's see what Phelim's going to be able to do. Let's ride along. Talk us through this lap.
I mean, now looking how he's trying to use well, we see the trim on the side now. Keep an eye on this trim graphic where we see going into the corners, whether that goes up or down. Likely it will just drop a little bit just before the corner and then go back up as the exit of the corner to get those foils back up, keep the speed up, that less kind of force working against the boat, keeping that minimum speed up. As we come around here, now this is the point where the trim's going to change. He's going to take on that big sweep of corners, a left, and a left, back onto a fast straight. So crucially, it's the speed going into this corner now. As we can expect there, trim went right up to get that balance in and out of the corner, just coming around to that last bit of this 3 left turns in a row before getting on the power. You might see him on the edge of that last gate before going back on the straight and seeing how much speed he can take through. And that's the moment. Now this is crucial now, how he gets back on the power, and it's a little bit unsteady, isn't it, Greg?
Yep. Dropped in there pretty hard. And, you know, when you just touch, it's one thing, but when you really drop that bow right into the water hard and it slaps hard, that really robs you of speed, because that's just friction. It's just purely friction, and it slows you down. Had a really personal best in the first sector, but lost a little time in that second sector. Now, Saud Ahmed, however, just put up the fastest first sector in this group. He's got a lot of time he's going to need to make up, but that's a good way to get after it here. About 1.5 seconds quicker than anybody else thus far in that first sector.
And this would be a great result for Team Aoki as well, because that's exactly what they need. They need to get into those semi-finals and the finals, be able to earn more points, because where they are currently kind of joint 7th, they're in need of some points to work their way up and show what they can do in this championship.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And again, Ahmed just uncorks a great second sector, a 30.9. So really fast in that second sector. If he can hold this together, this could be a monster lap. And he's heading now into that final turn, which is sort of the northwest hairpin, let's call it. And let's watch his line through here. It looks like he stayed up on the foil, carrying a lot of speed through that turn. Gets it here. I would, if he had it, hit the boost, see what happens. He's coming to the line. Does he do it? He does. What a lap. A 1 minute 34.303. Jumps to the top of this group by almost 4 seconds, and he found it all in 1 lap.
That is a huge result for Team Aoki. You know, that's exactly what they needed, and it's a great lap. You know, there's a lot of lessons that can come from that for the following groups now. They'll be watching that back as quickly as they can to see where the time was gained.
Yeah, how did he get that done? They're going to be studying that, absolutely. And he didn't even get it with a an outright fast in the third sector. He made it up in the first 2 sectors by a ton. They were exceptionally quick. And Saud Ahmed for Team Aoki doing an absolutely remarkable job out there. And look at that. A lot of interest there, obviously, by Michelle Lobaden, who is very excited about what's unfolding here right now. And she will be out when we get into the next qualifying session here. But wow, what a job by Saud.
Yeah, incredible work, incredible work. Hopefully we get a chance to speak to him shortly, because I want to know how that lap came to be as successful as it was, because that was mega. So this is Saunders in the commentary box. That was an incredible lap. Almost 4 seconds up on everybody else. Talk us through it.
Hey guys, yeah, it was a phenomenal quali, so let's hope that we get a good time on it.
It looked like you just had some really strong cornering through the first 2 sectors. What was the difference between going out that first lap and really building up the speed for the second and third lap?
Actually, I got used to the water course. On the first lap, it wasn't that flat. By the second and the third one, I got familiar with it. We do some changes, so I got familiar with it. That's it. We did it.
Amazing work. Looking forward to seeing what you can do the rest of the day. Thanks, Saud.
Yeah, to put that lap in perspective, he ended up now, he's second overall of the 9 race birds, only Team Rafa putting in a better lap out there. That says an awful lot. Chris Ladaraga just doing an extraordinary job, but 0.55 off of that is Aoki Racing Team. And as he said, I got used to the water. He figured it out and uncorked one.
Just goes to show you how much it is about feeling. You know, it's the risk versus reward factor, of course, but there's so much that can be gained from just feeling confident and comfortable with the way the water's working against the boat.
And I just got to jump in here. We've just been informed by Race Direction that Westbrook Racing got a 20-second penalty, and apparently it was an incorrect exit from the race course. And obviously that is a safety issue, and those are the rules that are most important, and thus the penalties that are often the stiffest. That's a tough break for them going way to the back. That's going to be a real problem to overcome no matter what they do in this second qualifying session coming up in a while.
Absolutely, and as things stand, that would promote everybody else, of course, with Team Miami creeping into the top 4.
It's a really good point, and everybody advances as we see these beautiful race birds making their way back into the launching area. And there is Saud with the hatch cover open, trying to get a little air in there. And just for reference here, I've been following it. We're at 84 degrees Fahrenheit, and real feel with the humidity 93 degrees. And you're in this tight little cockpit here that's in many ways just a greenhouse.
That is, yeah, that's just unbearable heat, isn't it? And the greenhouse is the perfect analogy, because it's tight, but also you will have some residual heat from the engine behind you, from the motor behind you, and also that greenhouse effect of the sun coming in. Yeah, I can't imagine how hot it must be in that cockpit.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a pressure cooker, for lack of a better term, out there. Well, we weren't able to hear from Sam when we tried to talk to him on board the Racebird. Alex has found him now.
Sam, 4 seconds off Saud Ahmed there. Just how difficult were those conditions?
Really difficult. You can see in the afternoon that the traffic gets busier in and out of the harbour, and it's nothing we can do. We're racing in such a cool location. Of course people want to be here in Monaco, so boats coming and going out the harbour, affecting the racecourse conditions a little bit. So it was super choppy and super hard to manage. I think we were quickest in our session, which is a good thing because it shows that all of our session was struggling, but hopefully it settles down for Emma and we can have a good run in the next one.
What will your advice to Emma be going out, having just been out there yourself? What will you be saying to her?
I'll be saying to her, do what she did in Venice and save my bacon with the qualifying times.
Disappointment for you in Puerto Banús. Does it feel like it's time to make amends in Monaco, Team Brady?
100% it's time to make amends. It was a frustrating weekend. Everything prep-wise was great, and then it was just one of those racing weekends where things go against you. So we're going to try and bounce back, and we'll do the best we can this weekend with the conditions and stuff.
Fantastic. Good luck to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
We have to appreciate his take on it here, that, you know, maybe it's getting rougher because of the yachts, but it's Monaco, and that's why you're here. And everybody understanding that and going, well, we just have to deal with it and put in the best performances we possibly can. That's mega yacht stuff right there. But here's how this ended up in this second group of session one. It was Team Brazil and Katie Munnings ending up in the 4th spot in the overall run order. In the 3rd spot, Phelim Kavanagh for Team Blue Rising. In the 2nd spot, the gent we just talked to, Sam Coleman, exceptionally talented and experienced powerboater, sitting in that 2nd spot. And then Saud Ahmed with again, Aoki Racing, what a final lap he put in. And we've seen him do that a couple of times where he's got out and it looks like, all right, this isn't going to be good. And then he unleashes something, and it's absolutely spectacular. And boy, did he do it there.
Absolutely using that 9-time jet ski champion credentials to do well there.
Well, like he said, he figured the water out, and a jet ski racer, you've got to do that, and you do it at speed. And he seems to be able to figure that out. And he is getting ready to head out of the race bird, and we're going to take a pause.
Don't go on the marina, and then when you get 10 minutes, reset it again and see if it can come on. Okay, and they're all right, I've got to switch anything on. They're all out to be live. Yeah, take that one for the minute.
With the Tridare. Little bit.
Welcome back to the glorious Mediterranean coast and Monaco, no less. It has so much history here and so many different forms of motorsport, but the first appearance here of E1 and some of its serious celebrity team owners, Didier Drogba, one of the greatest soccer players ever. I believe he has been voted Chelsea's greatest. That says an awful lot about the talent that he has.
Yeah, decorated with Champions League wins, and also I think it's 5-time African Player of the Year. One of the greatest we've seen in the modern generation of football. Yeah, now he's here with E1, repping his own team. Now going into a session where they want a good time.
They have to have a good time, don't they? They really have to put one up here. No question about that for Team Drogba. Currently third, so not way out of it by any stretch. And if anybody can do it, it's this 18-year-old behind the wheel. And it still stuns me every time I say that, Oban Duncan. She is already a 10-time British powerboat champion, and she has been absolutely superb. Jeddah, she admitted, I was a little nervous. I let it get to me a bit. But Venice on, she has just been a steely-eyed racebird pilot, and it's shown.
I mean, this is exactly when you start getting the balance of raw talent versus experience of big moments. You know, and this is where someone like Oban can really shine and say, you know, I might be the young one, but I'm here to battle with the rest of you.
I've got a lot of experience. There's no question about it. She's really, really good. Now, this is going to be another 5 racebird heat again, but what happens now, it's the second of the pilots that's on board. And the way it's structured, every team has 1 male and 1 female, or can have only one that has any marine level racing experience, whether it's jet skis, power boats, sailing, anything like that. So it's a wonderful blend here on every level. It's incredibly inclusive. Any sport, obviously, male and female. But what you do is on qualifying day, obviously you start off, you pick one pilot, then for the second session of qualifying, everything flips. So on board here, as we take a look at the Team Miami boat, it's going to be Anna Glennon, who has had some very stout moments. Obviously, she and her teammate lead the points right now coming in. That means both of them very much have had to perform.
But it's going to take even more performance as well in this session and the later sessions to maintain that. And, you know, looking also in this session, we've got Team Rafa, who when it came to the practice timings, collectively, they both had the quickest timings in their group. So can they replicate that now again and stay in the quickest timing in qualifying and get that crucial, perfect starting position for the semi-final?
It's key, no question. And off we go. Qualifying is now underway. And boom, you can hear that right away, starting to get that huge bow slap as they head down the track here. It's Team Rafa on top right now by about 0.6 of a second after the end of the first session of qualifying. And then Aoki Racing with that amazing lap by Ahmed, then Team Drogba, and then Team Miami. So again, 2 of the top 4 are out in this group.
Let's keep an eye now on this first lap from 8-time jet ski champion Anna Glennon and see what she can do and whether she puts everything into this first lap or whether she goes with the Munnings approach and has a bit of a build to see what the conditions are like, to get the feeling and then push in the second and third lap. My gut instinct is someone with this level of water experience will just go for it the first time.
You would certainly think so, and it looks like she's going to get after it here. And remember what happens at the end of this second session of qualifying with the 2 groups. The 2 times that were set by each pilot, one in the first session, one in the second, are totaled, added together. Then you divide by 2 to get the average, and the fastest or lowest time, that's who will get that crucial point. And it's that order that will establish the lane choice for semifinals. So this is really crucial here. Doing a nice job. I'm not seeing that dropping too much now, except as she starts to prepare for the turn. And she's the first one to set any times in this, so we'd expect her to have the 2 fastest sector times. Look at how close she carved that smart mark. She's after it. You said she would be. Boy, is she.
That looked clean, and it's because a big lap is needed. You look at it, we're going on collective times. There's currently about a 4 2/10 second gap between the fastest time so far we've seen. So this has to be a very, very good lap time in the second and third lap. Maybe she leaves it for the final lap in order to put the pressure on those quickest.
That's a good point. You know who, when they get done with this qualifying session, who they have to answer to is a guy named Mark Anthony, who is the team owner of this group, and he has been an avid cheerleader. Was at, I think, the first 3 races, had a conflict for this one, but they are in constant contact and they want to perform for him. He is just, boy, talk about uplifting a team with pure energy. The guy gets it done.
Yeah, he's been very present so far, and it's one thing that can be said about all of the team owners here in E1 is they all only know winning. Whether that's winning a Grammy, whether that's winning a Super Bowl, whether that's winning a tennis Grand Slam, the only thing they know is winning, and they'll expect the same from their teams.
That's exactly right. You think about Team Brazil with Marcelo Claret, not an athlete per se, but one of the greatest venture businessmen who has now converted all of that into being one of the world's leading philanthropists and trying to help. That's, to me, maybe one of the bigger wins, is when you're out there to do exactly that. So we will see here what's going to unfold. The first lap for Anna Glennon, a 1 minute 41.422. And obviously we've got four other these beautiful race birds that are off and flying right now. Here is Drogba, again, Oban Duncan on board. Let's see what she's going to be able to do. She's coming around to complete her first sector. And wow, a 33.9. That's a really good first sector.
An interesting noticing, she's opting for a higher trim on the cornering than most of the others are when we're looking at this graphic. That icon on the right hand side, seeing the trim, pushing up above 2, which we haven't really seen as much with anyone so far. So there might be something in that. The trimming up is a better way to get better balance into the corners.
Ooh, so close there. You can see, and that's what I was talking about when those swells hit with those foils out there. You saw that boat just suddenly have that weird yaw moment. It's like a Formula One car suddenly snapping sideways in a corner. But it's done with so much torque because of those foils, and she just saved it and just kept it bend here and is absolutely going after it.
It really does try the best to unbalance the race bird, but that's where the experience of being on the water and kind of knowing what's happening and being able to react to it and work with it potentially, if you can, it pays dividends.
And to understand the feel, right? That's not a negative thing, it's just part of the game. She just puts in a 142.3. She had a couple of really good. The second and third sector were super fast. Glennon's was just fast enough to keep her just in front. But now, that was just the first lap for Oban, as Glennon has turned to 141.4. It's that close, 9/10 right now. Let's see what Oban can do. And to that point very quickly, you think about it, for a race car driver, for instance, you feel that sudden massive roll moment or a massive yaw moment. If it's huge, in your head, I'm crashing. And so, now you have to just go, no, that was just a swell, just keep going. It's this whole learning thing that every one of these pilots has to do to some degree.
Absolutely, and I would say maybe with the jet ski qualified, they might have a bit more about that feeling and the way it works through the body and being able to lean into it. Whereas, talking to someone like Tom Chap on the powerboat side, sometimes when you get that feeling, you have to slow down, because the risk of not slowing down and allowing that wave to take you could create a massive accident. So yeah, there's actually joint ways of thinking from people with vastly different experiences is what makes E1 so exciting, I think.
I agree completely. It sort of is the equal playing ground in a way. It doesn't matter what your background is. And although Oban now, let's see what she's going to put up. Oh, a really, really good. She was off in that first sector, but a really solid second sector here. But I don't think it's going to be enough. She's got to find something massive in this third sector. But again, this is only her second lap, so she does have another one after this. And that's the nice thing, you go out, you explore a little bit, what's working, what's not, and then try and piece it all together on that final lap.
It's early days, yeah, of course, in this session, but the combined standings looking like Team Drogba on top, with still 3 more pilots to take to the water and see what they can do. And I am expecting big things from Jeva Maleri-Hagen and Tom Chap and Lucas, to be fair. All 3 of them shown very capable in previous races.
That they have. Lucas, to me, has been one of the revelations, so can't wait for him to come out, of course, in that Team Westbrook boat. Right now, that margin staying really close, still at 9/10. And but this time now, Oban sets the fastest first sector, only by 2/10, but she's got the other sectors to go. And Anna Glennon for Team Miami, she's done. So right now, it's all up to Oban. It's just those 2 race birds on the track right now. Just look at the focus.
That's a bit of an upset there for Team Miami.
So too, yeah.
The championship leaders as it stands. That's not really a position they want to be in. They want to be in that optimum position when it comes to the semi-final, and to be able to get the best use of that clear water into the first corners.
Absolutely, and keep in mind Anna Glennon. I mean, she won a World Jet Ski Championship in the men's class. I think she's been the only female to do that, so she is incredibly accomplished at what she's doing here. But now let's see, as Oben heading down final turn here, this somewhat snug northwest hairpin. I wonder if she's going to open it up or is she going to pivot around this last smart mark. Does that pivot?
It's currently looking pretty good, but I think there is still some time to gain. I do think we're going to see that time drop when the other teams come out.
Well, she just went to the top at a 1:39.2, a 1:39.2 for Oben in this session. But we've got 3 other race birds yet to come, and she doesn't look well pleased right there. I think she's got something that she may have felt she left a little something out there. Still in all, was able to put together a good second and third sector, and that's what sort of launched her, first and third sector, excuse me, and that's what launched her to the top by a good 2 seconds. So it was a solid lap, and now it is Team Checo out there, and that, of course, is Sergio Perez's team, and it's Yeva Milliere-Hagen. So much experience in the world of power boating, and as a reserve, she's had time in these race birds. It's not like she's just stepped in without any kind of time on board. But let's see if we can hear from Oben. Saunders?
Oben, incredible work so far. Talk us through the laps.
It's not great this afternoon compared to the earlier qualifying session. But yeah, I think we've just got everything dialed in for us today.
So what is it going to take now to stay at this point and get the best possible launch in the semi-finals?
I mean, pole position would be amazing, but we're hoping for as high as we can get today. You just set a great time earlier. So yeah, we've just got to see what everyone else can do now.
Top work, looking forward to it. Thanks, Oben.
All right, Oben doing an absolutely fabulous job. Now our first lap completed by Yeva Milliere-Hagen for Team Checo. A little bit off the mark here, about 14 seconds off. But again, her first lap here in real competition. Everything up until this has been shakedown in practice. And so right now, she's, I would think, still literally feeling her way around this course.
Yeah, and it's the thing, last time that she might have sat in an E1 cockpit would have been before there's been slight changes in the nose cone, maybe a little change in feeling and balance, and she's going to take some time getting used to it, especially on these full power laps, just trying to get a best time as possible, knowing that there is a time to beat rather than just going out there and practice and seeing what you can do. There's now an element of competition and jeopardy where it's falling on her to put in the best time possible to get that combined standing.
Yeah, absolutely good point. Folks, if you look at the screen and you see the combined standing, that is now, since we are into our second session, that is the combined average times. And again, qualifying is all about the lowest lap time. And so we combine the times and then get the average, and the lowest average speed, or time, I should say, is what's going to get you that pole point. You just saw Danny Close, who's obviously very interested in what Yeva is doing right now. And taking a look, I think she found a little bit more time and is pushing hard at this point.
Doesn't look the most balanced.
Oh, it doesn't.
A lot of nose cone almost dipping in. We don't really want to see that, especially in these conditions where it isn't that choppy. And you can see how much power. You think the release then, you know, the moment she comes above the wave, it's just full power in and send, but also that can then go to unbalance you on the next kind of wave that hits you. So it is about finding that perfect bit in between, that balance in between pushing and being in the right place in the foil.
And of course, we have to keep in mind, you know, with the exception of the 2 Westbrook pilots, everybody else here, along with all of the testing and practice they've done, they've got now 3 full races underneath their belt, if you will. And at this point, you can see Danny very frustrated right now, and they've got to be kind of scratching their head just a little bit, and as to why they just haven't been able to find any significant pace here. And right now, Yeva doing everything she possibly can to find some time.
Yeah, you can see, and coming up to that point of the course here where you're going to get the most amount of turbulent water, because not only are you getting the big super yachts and the other boats coming past just for the leisure activities, but it's where it becomes the most exposed. The coastline doesn't protect you as much as it does near the marina side of the course, so it's kind of working against multiple negative forces trying to stop your boat in its tracks whilst you're trying to keep going.
Yeah, and there's so much going on, the hydrodynamics, even under the surface that we can't see. You don't know what's happening there either. I mean, there's a lot that goes on that they're all paying attention to. And Will Smith's Westbrook Racing, here it is, that beautiful red Racebird is out on the course right now. And of course, the pilot is Lucas Ordóñez. And I'll tell you what, this guy, he came through the world of gaming, video gaming. He was the first Nissan GT Academy winner and has driven top flight prototypes at Le Mans. I was announcing at Le Mans one year when he ran the Nissan Delta Wing and had a lot of, showed a lot of pace there. He just seems to pick stuff up very well. And he just set fastest first sector of this entire session on his first lap.
Top work. I mean, he's a real inspiration for younger generations trying to get into
is.
motorsport, to know that there is another route in. It doesn't have to be through the traditional models. You can get in through something that you can passionately do at home, like sim racing, and then before you know it, you're on the podium at Le Mans or you're winning LMP2 races.
That's exactly right. I'll tell you what, Yeva has done a nice job on her third lap. She made up a bunch of time. She's still off a bit, but she found the better part of 7 seconds.
Oh.
So now I think she's starting to really get a grasp of what's going on. And taking a look here, Luca's second sector, wow, it's a good one. It's only 0.2 off of Oban Duncan's. And his first sector was 0.4 underneath. So right now, if he can complete this lap on the form he's on, he would move to the top of this group, and he does! A 138.283, and the margin, 0.9. That seems to be the number here. We've had the first 3 Racebirds have gone out, and the margins have been 0.9 each time between first and second. So it's Westbrook Racing on top, Drogba second, Miami third, and Checo right now in fourth. We have still not seen the folks that I'm going to list as sort of the preemptive favorites, perhaps.
Yes.
Team Rafa, they will be coming out. I think Tom Schaap is saying, you guys go out and play, and then I'll let the water come, and I'm going to come out and see what I can do here.
Exactly.
Individual and here we goes.
And collective fastest times in free practice. And now we can see what happens here in this qualifying session 2. This is a man with a lot of experience on the water, and not just from him. His father's got 25 years of experience as well, so the water is very much in their veins as a family.
And, we talk about having a successful team owner that you always have to answer to. How do you beat Rafael Nadal's record in terms of success in the world of sport in general, let alone tennis?
Yeah, one of the 3 greatest, within the last 20 years of tennis, and, a true champion, a true winner. And as a result, like Brady, like Perez, like Drogba, like the rest, will expect similar performance, because like we said earlier, winning is the only option for these guys.
He's got first lap, goes to the top by almost 4 seconds.
Wow.
His first sector was a good one, and then he absolutely smoked sector 2 and 3. I mean, 31s, 31. Each sector was a 31-point low. That is a huge lap to put together here, totaling a 134.4.
It's incredible work. The strategy, I don't know if it's the prop choice, whatever it is, Team Rafa have just got something good working so far this weekend, and it seems like they're unstoppable as it stands.
It's just remarkable the speed we've seen from them for sure. Now Lucas Ordóñez still has more he can do. He just completes his second lap and he takes about a second away. He goes at 1:38.2, so he's finding time. But the concern there is that Tom Schaap still has 2 more laps, well, a lap and a half now at this point to go here. But Lucas is at least trending in the right direction right now, closing it up just a little bit. But I'm going to be fascinated to see what this first sector, they're not bad. They're off what he had thrown in. Remember, he had that 31. Well, this first sector, well off that. So I don't think this lap is going to be a big improvement, but he still has a third one if he needs it.
I mean, look at the concentration there we saw in his face. This is, it's just hard to think anything otherwise than him just going to get another good lap now.
Yeah.
Because just the experience, they had the pace that he's shown not just today but also in previous races, and fallen short kind of unluckily before. This is the chance to make up for it, get that crucial point, get in the perfect position for the semi-finals, and then just go forward from there.
Well, I'll tell you, I was just watching, we had a fairly long shot of him coming down that straight and into that northwest hairpin. And it was the longest time that I'd seen that any of these Racebirds pretty much steadily up on the foil. He's getting a little bit of that pogo right here, but it looked really, really good. So we'll see what he's going to be able to put together here. Ordonez still working on trying to complete another solid lap. He's got a really good one going. He doesn't have any outright bests at this stage, but he's got a couple of personal bests. We'll see if he's going to be able to dig any time and see if he can get a little bit farther underneath that 3.8 second deficit at this point. Remember, we still have to then add the times to the co-pilot that was out in the first session and see where they end up. So Ordonez doing a nice job at this stage, doing everything he can to try and make sure they're up near the top of this.
Just goes to show you the crucial importance of the combined standings element.
Yes.
Because looking at the top, look at 4th and 5th currently in that combined standing, separated by just a few tenths of a second.
Oh, look at that. That's that big yaw movement I was talking about. Who really dug that foil in there, and that's when you tend to lose a little bit of time. Let's see, Ordonez has completed the laps. No improvement on that last one, turned to 140.5. So now it's Schaap. He's the only one out there for Team Rafa trying to find it. He's got a nice margin, but you know he's a racer. He wants more. What does he put up? Does he beat the 134.4? No, cannot make that happen here, and he was a bit off once again in that third sector this time, but still a really good lap, a 134.4 for Tom Schaap, and Rafa is comfortably right now up by some 3.2 seconds over the rest of the field. So Rafael Nadal no doubt watching and loving what he's seeing at this stage from his pilots. Here's a little bit finally of a grin from a very focused Tom Schaap at this point. And so much experience there, and he adjusts. You know, he thoroughly admitted when he had that one mistake when he just drove too hard and buried the nose in Puerto Banús. You could tell when we chatted with him, it upset him, it annoyed him. He wasn't going to do it again. He came out and put in a really solid lap and did a superb job here. So Team Rafa, where we thought they would be, but I'll tell you. Well, let's see if Saunders can check in and talk to Tom Schaap.
Tom, it's Saunders in the commentary booth. That was one hell of a lap. Didn't even mess around. Straight out there. How was it? I'll try that again. Tom, Saunders in the commentary box here. Just checking you can hear me. That was one hell of a lap time, straight to the top of the timings.
We're going to try on my mic. Hey, Tom, this is Greg in the comms booth. Absolutely superb opening lap and right to the top. Must be confident.
This position was really hard. With choppy and we have some way, so that I'm so happy because we can manage to put the boat in the front position in this session. And yeah, I want to say thank you really for all of my team because they make a pretty good job this weekend for the pace. I'm so happy, and I really hope we get this first pole position for us. So, thanks.
Well done right now, up by almost 3.2 seconds. Congratulations. And of course, as we've talked about, that is now in the combined in this order. Now we still have another session to go where the final 4 race birds will go out. But the gaps are fairly sizable behind the top 3 right now. I mean, it's right now Rafa is up by 3.2 seconds. Then it's another 2.4 back to Team Miami. And then there's a pretty big chunk back to that 4th team. So it's going to take some absolute magic for the other teams to be able to come out and pull something together here. But the simple fact of the matter is maybe the fastest qualifying position is out of reach. But if you can go from 7th to 4th or 3rd, that helps you in your draw. So there's still a lot on the line here.
Absolutely, yeah, nothing to give up on yet. Still plenty to get to be gained in this final session. Maybe we should send Alex to try and find some more information about the Team Rafa. You know, what's the secret? The performance this weekend is incredible.
Yeah, what are they doing? Whatever it is certainly successful. You just saw Lucas Ordonez crawl out of the Westbrook racing boat. There's Sarah, and she's pouring through some notes, and I'm sure looking forward to a debrief with Lucas, when he gets out, and I'm sure he's going to have an interesting report here, but you got to think all smiles for Team Rafa at this stage, as they just really seem to be connecting, and that's a big part of it. One of the things that kind of impressed me when we were hearing from Chris when she was talking about it, she said, we've really prepped as a family. And that's one of the things that they have always stressed. Look at the smile there. That they have always stressed is, they are together. They're a true team, and they just do everything, all in great spirits and energy, but all focused on the same thing. Boy, it seems to be paying off. And look at that. Look at that welcome.
That's great to see, and that it coincides with the way Tom talks about his experience with racing and how it kind of became a family unit, following in his father's footsteps, and the way they would talk about racing on the dinner table were some of the best moments he's had, he says, because the first time he ever experienced a race competition on the water, I think he was 8 weeks old. So this guy has known nothing really other than water racing.
Well, and when it's literally almost bred into your DNA, it just becomes part of you, right?
Sure.
You can't do anything but that at that stage, or you'll be miserable, for the rest of your life. And the best way to make sure you can do that, and maybe one day afford one of these, is to succeed.
That is the boat of a Bond villain, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just I could hear the music in my head as I looked at it. Yeah, right out of Thunderball.
if you look carefully, you can see a white cat being stroked on the back deck there, by a master villain.
Exactly, and it separates, and the front takes off. That is a beautiful craft, and look at that. A little Curtis craft is one of the runabouts here.
Juxtaposition there from the new versus the old, and that kind of sums up Monaco. I think this is such a good place to hold an E1 race, to show probably the biggest population of boat owners or boat visiting on boat in the world what you can do with electric power and the future of leisure crafts, especially with the powerboating sector.
All right, on that big yacht there, look on the sides. Are those foils? Are they taking ideas from the race birds here?
There we go. There we go. The revolution has begun.
Exactly. But you're right. I mean, it's just a magical place. You think about it. I think was it 1929 when the first Monaco Grand Prix race was held? It's been on the schedule in some way, shape, or form for a long time. They've even used part of the track as a rally stage for the Rally Monaco. All kinds of absolutely crazy stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit about this lady coming up here in a minute. But first, let's check in with Westbrook's Racing, Anna Glennon.
Anna, you go into this weekend as championship leaders, but just how challenging did you find that qualifying session?
Yeah, obviously not the quality that we wanted. We always want to come out on top. So we're sitting in third right now, but we're testing some theories right now, and as you can tell from our driving, it really didn't go the way that we wanted. But the good news is, even when we had a quali that we didn't really enjoy, we still were in the top 3. So the team, Victory, they're really talented at this stuff. We're already working on some things to change for tomorrow. I think we're hot on the tails of fixing it, and I think we still have a chance tomorrow. Anything can happen on any given day, so.
I'm sure you don't want to give too much away, but what are the changes you're looking at? Can you tell us anything?
Oh, no, not at all. I don't share any secrets, and I'm definitely not going to share anything that the Victory guys have cooked up. So we're going to go back to the drawing board, make a few adjustments tonight, and tomorrow we'll come out swinging.
How much confidence from Puerto Banús do you bring into this weekend? It must give you a huge amount of confidence.
I always knew that we could win. It was just a matter of when we were going to win. So I think, on any given day we can win, and the meter resets every time we get into the boat. I think we're the most capable team, and we'll make it happen when the time's right.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And of course, that's Anna Glennon with Team Miami, and sorry about that. And they had just an exceptional event in Puerto Banús. But what some people didn't necessarily think about is when you looked at round 1 in Jeddah and the second round in Venice, top qualifier, Team Miami.
Yes.
So the speed was always there. It was just piecing it together. They did that, and they know that they can come from back a little bit, which they did at Puerto Banús in terms of the points and in terms of some performance, and were able to come back and do it. You could just see on that onboard look at her when that boat hits, when that race bird comes down, it's a jolt. And obviously, you've just got to focus through that, get on with the job, which she does incredibly well.
And that's where all that jet ski experience will come in, because they're constantly constantly being jolted left to right, up and down as they hit waves and just try and power through everything against them. And there's, I guess, a bit of similar feeling with that, but just in a very different position. You know, she's used to kind of sitting up or standing up on the jet ski, using their body weight to move around, whereas being static is probably quite unfamiliar. All of the movement are kind of being with the entire craft, but then all in the hands as well with the wheel. So it's I guess a similar feeling that she might be useful, but in a very different way.
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely right. And let's not forget, legs on a jet ski, nice shock absorbers. Sitting in a seat, not so much.
Yeah.
So there's all of that for them to be getting used to. Here's our current combined standings with yet 4 race birds yet to go. It's Rafa up by 3.2 seconds, and a guy who played a big role in that, Tom Schaap, is with Alex Aljo.
Tom, wow, what a qualifying session for Team Rafa. One opening lap from you. How did you manage that?
Yeah, to be honest, the condition of this qualification was really choppy and really difficult. And yeah, I'm so happy about this lap because the lap time was really good in this type of condition. But I really want to say thank you to all of my team because without them we can do nothing, and they make a pretty credible job this weekend for prepare the race and to prepare the boat to have this pace. So without them, nothing was possible, so thank you for them. So yeah, so happy.
Yeah, absolutely, because Chris did amazingly too, didn't she? What did she say to you before you went out? Did she warn you? Did she give you some advice?
Yeah, we talk really a lot together for share every lap, every comment, and we prepared the race together. So I'm so happy to work with her because it's super nice driver and friendly person. So yeah, we are so happy with all of the team. So yeah.
So far, so very good for Team Rafa. Vamos, I think.
Yes, vamos. This is the name for that, vamos.
The size of the smile really says it, doesn't it? Just an incredible job. We suspected that Team Rafa was going to be the team to beat based on what we saw in practice. We're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we have the final group of qualifying, and it features the one local of Monegasque that will be competing here. Welcome back for our final group of qualifying, the 4 remaining race birds and their pilots that have not yet put in a time. Aoki Racing, Team Brady, Team Blue Rising, and Team Brazil by Claude. Those are the 4 that will be coming out for this one. And it's going to be difficult, quite honestly, for them to be able to get to a point where they might be able to go for the fast lap. But they certainly have an opportunity. There is the duo, the co-owners of Team Brazil, Marcelo Claret and his daughter Sienna. They are literally listed as the co-owners, work very much together on this, and she is a remarkable young lady in her own right, and she has witnessed what her father has done with his ability to grow businesses and then turn around and help people with that money, and I think she has just really jumped into it, and she is a huge proponent of marine biology and environmental causes, and that's why she got involved with this, and that's why the teams. I have a feeling she maybe talked her dad into getting hooked up into this.
Potentially, yeah, a natural fit for the championship. But let's just thinking about, as we approach this next final group of qualifying, there is a very strong, very competitive benchmark that has been set by Team Rafa.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be incredibly difficult to try and match, but it's not impossible. And all it takes is just a little bit of clean water, a little bit of clear water, a good run, maybe one good exit out of that top sector, and that could be all the difference.
That could be. As we look here at Tom Brady on site, again, everybody would have to argue very strongly that he is the GOAT when it comes to American football. 7 Super Bowl wins and multiple Super Bowl MVPs. The guy is just extraordinary. The greatest pocket quarterback ever. There's no question about that. And he is a true sportsman. And you saw at the very top of the show, he says, I can't compete anymore, but I still need to win.
Yeah.
So this was a great outlet for him. And he, too, has been a really stout proponent of environmental causes and loves boating and says, we got to keep these seas clean so that everybody can enjoy them. And that's part of the reasons that he got on board. And speaking of on board, it's Emma Kimiläinen. And she, to me, has been one of the real revelations. I mean, she is an aggressive, hard-nosed road racer, has done incredible things in GP classes and in the W Series and the like, just extraordinary. And she seems to have made the move into these race birds with great ease.
Yeah, but also has the benefit of a bit of snow activity, snowmobiling. That there is, I guess, some similarities with dealing with constant changing conditions on the ice and on the snow than what you get on the water. And also just an out-and-out racer. Just there, ready to challenge anyone that comes against her. And this is a big challenge now to try and get a good time, to start those semi-finals in the best possible position they can and push for points. Because as it stands, Team Brady, P2 in the championship. Tom Brady won't be enjoying that.
No, he will not like that at all. Now, here we go. This is who I was talking about, Lisa Kassen-Battaglia. She lives right up the hill here in Monaco, and she is absolutely over the moon to be able to race here. She did a little checking, and she said, I believe I will become the first female Monegasque who has ever raced in a professional event here in Monaco, and she is so excited about it. She made an absolutely great move and a great lap in one of the semifinals to put the team up into the ability to run in the finals. She's really starting to get a feel for it. She's a very talented jet ski racer, but to me, she's somewhat of a Renaissance lady. She's a violin player. She's an actress. She plays multiple instruments. I know that. And she also has a degree in philosophy.
Wow.
So, yeah, she's a special person, and she wears her emotion out on the sleeve. And she will, if she's happy, she cries. She said, if I'm sad, I cry. All I want to do is be crying for joy here in Monaco. And, boy, she attacked that first corner, didn't she?
Yeah, so I'm looking now at the graphic on the right. It's definitely a lower trim option than some of the other faster times we've seen, almost a degree lower. So there's something in that setup that maybe suits her or maybe suits the race bird. But there's a lot of work to be done, it has to be said, to get the time needed to excel out of this group. Because, looking at the leaderboard, not just the combined standings, but also the actual championship leaderboard, there is a bit of a shift when it comes to regular performance and people that just haven't quite been there yet.
Yeah, that's true. And that first lap has just launched her and that team up into third. And she's she's under half a second out of that second spot held right now by Team Drogba when we look at the combined graphics at this stage here. So that is a superb lap for her. And I think Michelle Lobadan has started her lap again for Aoki race team. And she has indeed. And she really came alive a bit as well at Puerto Banús. And I think for some of these races, she's a rally driver. She's nothing to do with the water. And I think it's just, you know, this is a pun, but in a way it applies. I think some of these drivers that don't have any water experience, it takes them a while to find their sea legs, quite literally.
Absolutely.
And she started to find it big time in Puerto Banús.
Just trying to create a little bit of extra tension here, Greg, because looking at the championship leaderboard, you've got Team Drogba currently in 4th position, just a single point ahead of Team Blue Rising. We have almost like a little battle going on within the bigger battle in this qualifying session for that crucial 1 point.
Absolutely, and it can make a difference. I mean, you know, coming in here, we had 4 teams that were tied for 2 positions. You get 1 point here, you pick up that spot. I mean, it can be that significant here. And that first lap by Lisa was a 36.6. That's not a bad lap at all. Really stout, but it looks like, I wonder if she's backed off just a little bit. Looks like she's just maybe now trying to spot some more clear, smooth water out there at this stage. Michelle Lobadan comes through at a 39.0 to complete her first lap.
That's thrown Team Aoki straight into second in the combined standings. You know,
sure has.
They'll be very happy with that.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, that was a great lap. Remember, yeah. I mean, Saud just put in a scorcher, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that's paying big dividends for them right now. And it's now, in fact, pushed Team Blue Rising back, but not by much. So now, yeah, Lisa needs to come up with a lap that will find a half second or more, and that's assuming that Michelle does not put in a good one. You saw there, you know, we've talked about some of the A-list team owners. How about Virat Kohli? Just, I'm from the U.S. I don't know cricket well, but even I had heard that name.
Oh, an absolute
the guy's
legend.
Amazing, isn't he?
Huge legend of the sport. You know, it will pretty much go undisputed the best Indian batsman of all time. But maybe even greater than that. Maybe, you know, definitely one of the greatest cricket players to ever have graced the field.
Interesting watching Michelle's line there in that tight northwest hairpin. She went way wide and then sort of diamonded it a little bit, you know, and tried to straighten out, because there's a little dog leg when you come out of that, just a little flick, and she was trying to get it straight and on the throttle early. I don't know that that really paid off for her here. Lisa's second lap, she really backed off, and so now the question is she putting in a real flyer here on this third lap?
Just looking and seeing the gap now between the two that are currently out, Team Blue Rising and the Aoki team, is now been shortened down to just under 2.5 seconds from the bigger gap that it was before, with 2 laps done, 1 to go.
So this is really crucial here. Again, there's not much between that 3rd and 4th spot in the combined standings right now. And let's see if Lisa can find it here. She basically would need to turn something in the 136.1 range thereabouts, and got close. She found a couple tenths, but it wasn't quite enough. So she is still just a little bit over 2 seconds ahead of Michelle Lobadan, which wasn't enough to move her up. And Michelle still has this lap to complete here, so we'll see what she's going to be able to do.
So far, it doesn't look like the timing screens are being lighted up by any purple as it stands, but a lot can happen in the final sector. If you just get that perfect exit out of that top hairpin onto that back sector, the last sector where it's pretty much just 2 straights with a little kink in between, there's so much time that can be made up there, so it's not over yet, but let's see what happens.
And of course, she drives for Steve Aoki, who is known as one of the absolute best in terms of the sport.
Lisa, great lap there. Put yourself to the top of the timings. Talk us through it.
Lisa, this is Greg in the comms booth. How does it feel? You're finally racing at home. All right. Apparently continuing just a little bit of an issue there. And look at that. She's looking. I think she may have been told we're going to try and talk to her and then didn't hear us get in there. It's a shame because she was just so absolutely lit about being able to come home and race here. There's Phelan. You can see the tall gent right there. And the other two of them have provided a pretty solid 1-2 punch in terms of performance out there. And right now they sit in the 4th spot combined at this stage. Again, the two pilots, after both of them have completed their qualifying run, we total up the times and then get the average, and the lowest average time is the top qualifier, if you will. And so now, Stefan Hagen, and this is a great story as well. One of the reserve drivers is filling in for Marcel Claes, and let's not forget Santa, the team owners here, as their normal driver, who has proven to be incredibly quick, is off racing in a series that he has long been committed to and is an absolute standout.
Yeah, and also be replaced by an F2 world champion powerboat racer as well, so plenty of experience there. But as we have seen, even just looking at today, it doesn't always work out. There's always sometimes an edge you can find.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see here. It's going to be fascinating to watch. He actually has a couple of pretty decent opening sectors here, not far off on either one of them from Michele Lobadan's time, a little bit farther off from Lisa Kusembatalia's best. But this is a good opening lap, and as you talked about, a lot of times you're going to go out this opening lap, you're going to look at it and see, okay, what can I do where, and then put in a push lap after this. So we'll see what Stefan does. There is a look at the extremely experienced, talented powerboat racer.
These are the shots I love looking at, just seeing how they deal with any of the forces coming against the boat, whether they can kind of keep the momentum going, avoid the boat slowing down too much. And they seem to be doing pretty well so far.
I was going to say, did you see how long he kept it up there on that foil? And even as he flicked through that, now that we know about it, that sort of difficult little right-hander, he didn't lose much there. So we'll see what this second sector produces for him. We should be getting that popping up on the screens here. And that could give us a real good indication of where he is.
About 5 seconds off the first sector time at the moment, but yeah, this second sector, and crucially the final sector, is really going to be where time can be made up. And you would expect someone like Stefan Hagen to be able to extract more out of a race bird, maybe quicker than others, just because of his experience and his on the water and in powerboats. So.
Ooh, he lost some time, though, in that second sector. And I think a lot of it may have happened as he was setting up for that right-hander right before the sector time came up. He caught a swell right as he was about to turn in, and it just parked the boat. And there, of course, is Sam Coleman, who was eagerly awaiting Emma to head out in Tom Brady's beautiful craft. And she is now starting her first lap. So see what she's going to be able to do here.
Pretty balanced there going around this final sector. There is a point where the most narrow part of the course, where either racebird could be going on either side of the course and maybe get caught in each other's wake a little bit. Not a great deal, but I think it could make the difference. As you're approaching it here, you see, maybe there is something to that. They're just catching a bit of wake from the boat, the racebird on the other side. And it's a crucial point as well, because it's essentially the two fastest parts of the course layout in the first and third sector.
Looking at Emma's first couple of sectors, quicker than Hagen's, but not as quick as our top two at this stage. But once again, it is her first lap at this point. Look at that visor she uses, looking through the cockpit window. Tell me that's not a starfighter.
Very cool.
Getting ready to get going here. And there is Mr. Brady. There is Emma, and as you were talking about, the snowmobiling and mountain biking is a thing. But the other side of it, every one of the pilots, we've got some of that background information from them, they've got one thing they do to decompress, and hers is dancing and painting.
Nice.
It's just just some way to get away from that high energy pressure. Sometimes you just need that. And Emma's first lap, a 1:43, so needs to dig a little bit deeper on that one. And Stefan Hagen, he still has not been able to find it. The second sector is really where some of these pilots are struggling just a little bit.
Yeah, the times are sort of semi-representative of the most recent times that have been set. It seems like those that went out earlier had the benefit of clearer water and were able to put better times in, because now everyone's kind of hitting that, or everyone 3 out of 4 hitting that low 40s, 143, 144, 145 mark, whereas they were, beforehand they were able to find the high 36s. Right. So there's some difference in conditions that's changed in this session than the session before.
Oh, the team's obviously chatting with their pilots. And there is Mr. Hagen, and he ends up his final lap. He's at a 41.9, so perhaps not as quick as he would have wanted, but at least he's got his first competitive run now in, aside from practices and the like. And now for Emma, off in that first sector by a few seconds. She got a personal best in the second sector. But boy, it seems to me like she is just catching some massive amount of swells on this one at just the wrong time.
Yeah, looking on there, you can see the team watching, just kind of wincing their eyes as that doesn't look as smooth as it could be. Just taking a lot of water from the side and just really unbalancing and creating an imbalance in the race bird. And that's not what you want, because you basically want to be sitting on that foil at the perfect height, just clean above the waves, taking as little turbulence as possible, keeping that minimum speed up. But like we said, all of today and every race so far, it's unpredictable, and the conditions are changing almost, meter by meter.
Yeah, very much so, isn't it? And one of those yachts comes through, and you catch that side swell. And we've talked about it. You mentioned it before. These boats, the race birds really prefer to hit the waves head on than to roll through them like you would a normal power boat. So when a wave comes through at an angle, it really can upset them. And I think that's what's happening here. You can see again those massive yaw movements.
Yeah, exactly. It's about that balance. You kind of want it to be perpendicular to the wave, just cruising above it, almost levitating, almost flying above the water, almost like a hovercraft. But ultimately, you need everything to be working in your favor and the trim to be perfect, just to kind of displace the water in the way that brings you up, uses those foils in the best way possible. And it's harder to achieve. It's easy on flat water, but when you're working on a coast like this, when there's a current working against you, it's quite hard to maintain.
She just got her personal best in the first sector. It's off just a little bit from Lisa Kazem-Batalia's, but it was still a solid first sector. And all she needs to do, is come up with 1.3 seconds. And that may be a lot, but we have seen big gaps. And she's improved again in the second sector, but not quite enough. This is quite a bit of a struggle here for her. She really has to put together this third sector here and see what can happen. And you can see that was not a bad run. That was as smooth as we've seen her heading in to this final hairpin here. So let's see what she puts together. Just lets it have its head, the beautiful race bird. And here we go to the line. And what did she put up for a final sector? Well, she found some time, but not enough. And she will end up 4th in this group. And so a good effort, no question.
So now that's coming 6th in combined standings. Now, the thing is, the race performance is so good for Team Brady, but they just leave a little bit more needed when it comes to that qualifying pace.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It is, and obviously, the lane choice, it helps. So, on one hand, you could look at it and go, well, is qualifying that crucial? Well, it is, in the sense of, somebody that comes out quick in qualifying and they can just tweak on things a little bit are always going to be a little ahead of the curve compared to somebody who comes out back off, that are struggling to find time. And it's also a confidence, purely a confidence thing. And, confidence breeds speed.
Absolutely. And looking at the top 3 in the combined standings so far, only one of them has achieved a faster time in qualifying so far. So there's a lot of lessons that have been learned from previous races going into this weekend, and pace that has been improved.
Yes, absolutely. And you've got to make some adjustments and be able to do it. And the other side is do it under pressure.
Yeah.
That's it's time. This is for real now. Get after it. And it's a little struggle. Let's see if we can chat with Emma Kymäläinen. Emma, this is Greg in the comms booth. It looked like you were struggling a little bit with the race bird out there. How was it?
Yeah, I definitely did struggle. It wasn't an easy run. We did a last-minute setup change, and I just couldn't get it running as I wanted to. Plus, the conditions were not on my side, so yeah, it's about luck if you get a good position so that the water is calmer. At the moment, it wasn't for me, and yeah, it was a pity.
Well, as always, Emma, you gave it your all, and we appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing what you can do when the semifinals come around tomorrow.
Yeah.
See, Emma raises a really good point there about there's only so much you can prepare for. You can look at the conditions and think, well, what might be the best prop?
Right.
What might, in order to maximize whether you need acceleration versus top speed. And if you think you're going to get good conditions, then you're going to favor top speed. If you think you might need to get out of corners quickly because you might be forced to slow down, you want acceleration. So you're going to change the prop there. But all of that goes out of the equation if you've got this traffic coming in from the leisure vehicles, from the power boats and the mega yachts that are creating this wake and this kind of swell that's going to affect that completely. So everything you plan for might be gone in one small movement.
And make no mistake, those mega yachts move some water. And so obviously they create that wave, that wake wave just becomes a big swell essentially as it rolls through, and that can take a toll. Plus, Seabird is always adjusting and working on the race birds a little bit, and there were some minor tweaks done to the boat, so you're trying to psych through that. But we were talking about the excitement of the one local racer here, and that is Lisa with Alex Aljo.
A lovely hug for you there, Lisa, after that qualifying session in your home, Monaco. It must be a very special day for you, and how pleased can you be with that qualifying session for Team Blue Rising?
I am very, very happy to do this time, and it's incredible for me to race on my sea in my principality. I can see my parents during the race, so for me it's a dream.
Philip, she says it's a dream. How was it for you? Was it a dream for you too?
Yeah, absolutely. It just she pulled it out of the bag. That's all I can say. It was I kind of was a bit annoyed with my time, but we got there and we're in, I think, second row or something for the finals, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, super happy for the semi-finals, whatever.
What do you believe that you two are capable of achieving here this weekend?
What do you want?
Podium. We'll say podium. We'll
podium.
Go for podium.
A podium is okay.
A win is bonus. We go for the win, but podium would be awesome.
Good luck to both of you. All the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Merci beaucoup. Dage Munegu.
Dage Lisa, that's what we want to be talking about here, right? She just did a superb job. I mean, you think about it, that against Michelle Lobadan, Stephen Hagen and Emma Kimmelainen, she was almost 2.5 seconds quicker on her best lap. And doing it, talk about pressure. Your parents are there, you're at home. There's going to be a lot of fans out watching, especially tomorrow, friends of hers, and she just dug deep and made it happen. And as a result, this is where we are now. And again, this is the combined times, and then we take the best and lowest average. And Team Rafa, where we expected, maybe a little closer than we thought, though, with Team Aoki and Aoki Racing showing some speed.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we see Team Drogba just behind, and then Lisa from Team Blue Rising there. That crucial point of being in the point where you can have potential clear water ahead of you for the semi-finals and then the final, hopefully.
Absolutely. Qualifying is complete here in Monaco. Well, as we watch some of the marvelous moments from our first day of competition here in the Monaco Harbor, we have a full day coming at you tomorrow. Make sure you join us. We have semifinals, the place race, and the finals here in Monaco.